Hello, everyone. There comes a time when your silence speaks louder than your presence. There comes a day when your absence becomes a lesson carved in the stone of memory. And ooh, how mighty is the soul who knows when to walk away with grace, leaving behind the scent of strength, the mark of dignity, and the echo of truth. You were never meant to shrink to fit and see from your worth. You were never born to shrink to fit into places too small for your call. So let them miss you. Let them miss your kindness that was once taken for granted. Let them feel the hollow where your laughter used to bloom like spring in a cold room. Let them wonder where your gentle wisdom went when they did not listen. You gave your time, you gave your care, you gave all that your heart could carry. And when you leave, not in anger, not in revenge, but in peace and deep self-respect, the world will know you were never the storm. You were the calm before it. You see, sometimes presence becomes invisible. It becomes background music in a world that grows too used to the melody. But silence, my dear, silence awakens ears that have long been deaf to your song. When you remove yourself, not to prove a point, but to preserve your spirit, you become powerful in ways words cannot describe. You do not have to shout to be heard. You do not have to beg to be valued. Your leaving is not a punishment, it is a prayer for your soul to rest, a prayer for your heart to be held by hands that will not drop it, a prayer for your light to shine in a place that honors it. And if they do not notice you are gone, then you will know your absence was your freedom. If they do, and their hearts ache, let it be a soft reminder that love must be nurtured, not assumed. Let them miss you because you were worth missing. Let them fill the spaces you once filled with your energy, your listening, your believing in them when they could not believe in themselves. That was no small gift. That was a miracle you gave freely. And when miracles vanish, even the blind begin to see. Hold your head high. Do not turn bitter. Do not look back with resentment. You are not made for that. You are made for better. Your story continues. Your chapters unfold. And somewhere, someone will treasure the very things others overlooked. You will be loved as you are. Not after the leaving, but in the staying. Not when you go quiet, but when you speak. So let them miss you, not because you wish them pain, but because you wish yourself peace. Let your absence be your anthem. Let your grace be your goodbye. Let your next chapter rise like morning sun on the soul that finally chose itself. Your absence can speak louder than your constant presence ever could. There is something profoundly powerful in understanding that you do not always need to explain, to defend, or to stay in places where your presence has become background noise. You are not meant to be a permanent fixture in someone else's convenience. You are a living soul with value, with weight, with a spirit that deserves to be felt, not just seen. Sometimes the most powerful message you can send is by walking away quietly, not in anger, not in despair, but in the calm truth that you are no longer needed or wanted in the same way you once were. And that too is all right. You see, when you are always there, always available, always forgiving, always extending yourself past your own limits, people grow comfortable, not intentionally, not maliciously, but through the gentle decay of gratitude. The more familiar your kindness becomes, the easier it is to forget that it is a choice you make, not an obligation you carry. They begin to expect it. An expectation, when it is not matched with appreciation, turns a gift into a... But the day you choose to pull back, not to punish, but to preserve, is the day your value becomes undeniable. People begin to notice the absence of what they never paused to appreciate when it was present, the warmth, the laughter, the way your presence held the room together. It becomes a memory they wish they had cherished more. And that is not bitterness speaking. That is truth wrapped in self-respect. There is something about silence that wakes the heart. When you no longer fill the space with your attention, with your care, with your tireless effort, the emptiness left behind becomes a mirror. It reflects what was taken for granted. It exposes what was overlooked. And sometimes only in your absence can others truly see who you were when you were there. This is not about creating distance to hurt someone. It is about healing yourself. It is about understanding that constant presence is not the only way to prove love, loyalty, or care. Sometimes stepping back is the only way to protect the very love that was growing tired, the loyalty that was being misused, and the care that was slowly turning into self-neglect. Your absence holds power because it speaks in a language that cannot be argued with. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to explain. It simply is. And in that space, the world has no choice but to listen. Those who truly saw you will feel your absence like the loss of a heartbeat. And those who never did, well, they will finally have the silence to reflect on what it means to truly see someone. Let them miss you. Let them sit with the silence and the empty space you used to fill with so much life. Let them come to understand that your love, your effort, your time were never guaranteed. Let them learn the difference between someone who stays and someone who stays at their own expense. You deserve to be missed. You deserve to be remembered, not just for your presence, but for the light you brought, the peace you offered, the patience you extended. And if it takes your absence for that truth to rise, then so be it. Do not fear the distance. Do not fear being forgotten, for the ones who truly value you will never let you slip away without knowing what they lost. When you no longer stand where you used to stand, you give others a chance to feel the weight of that space. And maybe then they will rise to meet it. Or maybe they won't. But either way, you will have honored your spirit by not forcing it where it no longer flourishes. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. That is strength wrapped in softness. That is the quiet power of choosing peace over proximity. Let them miss you. Not to hurt them, but to heal you. Not to vanish, but to be remembered rightly. Not to leave, but to rise. And in rising, you teach others how to treat you, even when you're gone. Never beg to stay where your worth is not seen. Walk away with grace. That truth may sting, especially when your heart is still tethered to people who cannot see the light you carry. But the soul knows when it is shrinking. The spirit feels the weight of places it no longer belongs. You do not have to convince anyone of your value, your loyalty, or your love. Your presence alone is already a gift. If someone cannot recognize it, that is not your failure, it is their blindness. And you were never created to live your life trying to be visible to people who refuse to look. There's a quiet kind of dignity in letting go, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring for yourself. When you remain in spaces where you are merely tolerated instead of celebrated, you begin to wear down the very parts of you that made you radiant in the first place. You begin to doubt your own beauty, your own wisdom, your own ability to uplift others. You start to question if you're asking too much, when all you ever wanted was to be held with the same intention you offer so freely. But hear this, your worth is not up for debate. You do not need to keep knocking on doors that were never meant to open. You do not need to plead for a seat at a table that was never built to honor your voice. You do not need to stay in places where your light is dimmed just so someone else can feel comfortable in their shadow. Love does not ask you to disappear. Respect does not demand your silence. And real belonging never requires you to become someone else to be accepted. It is not weakness to walk away, it is strength. It takes courage to leave behind comfort, even when that comfort has turned cold. It takes faith to believe that your soul will find warmth again in another place, among other hearts. It takes wisdom to stop watering a garden that only blooms in your absence. You were not born to be invisible. You were not made to be background noise in your own story. Walking away with grace does not mean you are bitter. It does not mean you wish them harm. It means you love yourself enough to not stay where your presence has become a convenience rather than a connection. You walk away because your time matters, your energy matters, your peace matters. And when you go, go gently, not with anger, not with blame, but with the soft whisper of a soul that finally chose freedom. Those who are meant for you will never need to be begged to see you. They will notice the small ways you show up. They will cherish the way you care without needing applause. They will feel the depth of your spirit and honor it without asking you to prove anything. You will not need to explain your worth. They will know. You will not need to perform your value. They will feel it. Let your leaving be the lesson. Let your silence speak the truth you no longer have the energy to repeat. Let your absence draw the outline of who you truly were, not the version that was ignored, but the full, beautiful, fierce truth of you. The one who gave until it hurt, the one who stayed longer than you should have, the one who believed people could love better if only they understood. But understanding is not your burden to carry anymore. Some people will only understand your worth when it is no longer standing in front of them. And that is not cruelty, that is consequence. You were not made to beg for what should be freely given. You are not selfish for wanting to be seen. You are not wrong for choosing to leave when staying means losing yourself. Hold your head high, keep your heart soft. Let them miss you, and in that space, let them learn. Sometimes the greatest respect you can show yourself is distance. Not distance rooted in pride, not silence driven by revenge, but distance that allows your soul to breathe again. There comes a moment in life when you realize that not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of you. Your time, your energy, your compassion, these are not unlimited wells to be drawn from without care. When you find yourself constantly giving and rarely receiving, constantly showing up and rarely being seen, it is not unkind to step back. It is wise. It is essential, and above all, it is love. Love for yourself. There is a quiet wisdom in understanding that your presence is sacred. When you offer it freely, it should be met with gratitude, not expectation. But far too often, people grow used to you being the steady one, the forgiving one, the one who never leaves. And slowly, your constancy becomes background. Your kindness becomes assumed. Your voice fades into the hum of a life that has grown too accustomed to your goodness. So what do you do when your value is no longer recognized? You do not fight. You do not explain. You do not beg for attention or plead for appreciation. You create space, not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring for your peace. You step back. Gently, firmly, and with grace, because your spirit can no longer afford to remain in spaces that drain it. This is not cruelty, this is clarity. Distance is not always the absence of love. Sometimes it is the presence of boundaries. It is the recognition that what you continue to accept becomes the standard by which others treat you. And when you silently endure being overlooked, you teach them it's acceptable. But when you step away, you shift the energy. You remind others and yourself that love without respect is not love at all. In that distance, something profound happens. You begin to see yourself more clearly. You remember the softness you had forgotten. You reconnect with the quiet parts of you that were drowned out by noise. You feel your own worth, not through someone else's eyes, but from within. You realize that presence is not a requirement for proof. Your value does not decrease because you are no longer in the room. If anything, it becomes louder in your absence. Let them miss you, not to punish them, but to protect you. Let your space speak for you. Let your absence be a mirror for those who took you for granted. And in that reflection, let them come to their own understanding. Whether they do or not is no longer your burden to bear. You've done your part. You loved fully. You gave generously. You stayed longer than many would have. Now you choose distance, not because you are done loving, but because you have finally started listening to yourself. It is easy to confuse staying with strength, but sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away, to honor your needs, to nourish your heart, to stop showing up in places where your voice echoes into silence. You are not abandoning anyone. You are simply choosing to no longer abandon yourself. Let them feel the absence of your attention. Let them wonder where your patience went. Let them sit with the stillness you leave behind. And as they do, may they remember who you were, not in bitterness, not in blame, but in awe. Because you were the one who stayed. You were the one who gave. You were the one who kept loving, even when the return was small. Sometimes distance is not about creating space between you and them, but about closing the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. And if that journey requires silence, solitude, or separation, then so be it. You deserve peace. You deserve rest. You deserve the right to be missed, not because you disappeared, but because your presence was never ordinary. When you stop showing up, the truth of your value becomes undeniable. For so long, you may have moved through your days giving more than you had, pouring from a well that was never refilled, showing up. Not because you were always wanted, but because you believed in showing up itself. Loyalty has been your language, patience your rhythm. You stood beside people who forgot to notice, who took and took, not because they were cruel, but because they were too used to your presence. But even a sunrise unnoticed becomes a shadow. Even a garden unwatered begins to fade. And sometimes the only way for people to truly see what you gave is for you to no longer give it. You can love with all your heart, give without keeping score, and still find yourself in places where your efforts are treated as expected rather than extraordinary. You begin to feel invisible in the very spaces where you once felt needed. And that realization is a quiet ache, but it is also a calling to pause, to reflect, to understand that presence without appreciation turns even the brightest light dim. That is why stepping back is not always the end. Sometimes it is the beginning of truth. When you remove yourself, not to prove a point, but to protect your peace, people begin to notice the silence. They begin to fill the gap your energy once filled. They remember the way you held conversations together, the way your smile softened tensions, the way your care made heavy days lighter. And suddenly your absence becomes a lesson, a soft reminder that love, when ignored, does not vanish, it retreats. And in that retreat, it leaves behind a silence that speaks. You never have to raise your voice to be heard when your absence speaks on your behalf. It is not about punishment. It is not about revenge. It is about no longer sacrificing your presence for the sake of being present. It is about acknowledging that you matter and that your time and heart deserve to be held with care. When you step back, the silence makes space for truth to rise. People begin to reflect on how easy it was to lean on you, how simple it was to assume you'd always be there, how thoughtlessly they received what should have been revered. Let them sit with it. Let them miss the way you listened without judgment, the way you gave without needing applause. Let the stillness be their mirror. And while they reflect, you grow. You begin to heal in the quiet places that once screamed for attention. You remember your own worth, not by who sees it, but by how you now carry it, gently, firmly, Sometimes it takes stepping away for others to step up, and sometimes they won't. That too is clarity. You learn who was there for your light and who merely stood in its glow. You learn who valued your being and who only needed your doing. That knowing is not bitter, it is sacred. It gives you the power to decide where to plant your presence next. You were never meant to convince anyone to see your value. You were meant to live it. And those who can truly see will feel the shift when you leave. They will feel the lack of joy that once walked into the room with you. They will feel the difference between the noise of many and the voice of someone who truly cared. Walking away is not weakness, it is awareness. It is choosing to no longer pour yourself into vessels that do not honor what they carry. Let them miss you. Let the quiet echo with all the love you once offered freely. And in that space, you will see the truth. When you stop showing up, the ones who truly valued you will start showing up for you. Let your absence be the proof that your presence always mattered. Let your silence teach the lesson your words never could. There comes a point when speaking becomes an echo in a room full of closed hearts. You try to explain, to clarify, to be understood, but no matter how deeply you speak from the soul, it falls on ears that only hear what they choose to. You offer your truth, not in anger, but in love, hoping someone will meet you halfway, will see the weight behind your voice. But too often, people only begin to listen when you stop talking. They only begin to understand when your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. That is the power of silence, not the cold silence of punishment, but the sacred silence of self-preservation. You have spoken your heart, you have stood in your truth, you have tried every way you knew to be soft and strong at the same time, to express without attacking, to ask without begging. But there is a kind of exhaustion that comes from always having to explain your worth to those who refuse to see it. So one day, without ceremony or announcement, you choose silence. You step back, you grow quiet, and in doing so, you stop giving pieces of yourself to those who never knew how to hold them. Silence becomes the language of the soul when the noise around you has lost its meaning. It becomes your shield, not to hide, but to heal. You are no longer trying to convince anyone of anything. You are no longer stretching your heart into shapes that fit someone else's comfort. You simply retreat into your own presence, and that is where the lesson begins. Not in loud exit, not in broken words, but in the quiet where they begin to feel your absence like a weight they cannot shake. Let them wonder why you are no longer there to listen, no longer there to soften every hard moment, no longer offering your steady hand in silence. Let them feel the shift. Because sometimes people only realize the depth of your value when you stop pouring it into them. They begin to remember your patience when it is no longer available. They begin to see the kindness they ignored when it is no longer given. And while they sit in that stillness, trying to decipher the message your silence holds, you reclaim your peace. You're not responsible for teaching people how to love you through endless repetition. You're not required to explain your boundaries after they've been crossed again and again. Your silence, when chosen with intention, carries more truth than any argument ever could. It says, I am no longer willing to stay where I am not understood. I am no longer offering my voice to those who misuse it. I am no longer filling the room with warmth that is returned with coldness. And in that clarity, you find strength. Those who truly cared, who truly listened, will not need you to repeat yourself. They will feel the meaning in your quiet. They will honor the space you took. They will step forward, not with excuses, but with understanding. But those who never heard you to begin with, they will scramble to make sense of your absence, often too late, often only once. The silence becomes a mirror they cannot look away from. You are not being unkind by choosing silence. You are being honest in the most dignified way. Words spoken over and over again lose their meaning, but silence demands reflection. It forces others to ask themselves questions they were too comfortable avoiding, and that is where the true lesson lies. Not in shouting, not in pleading, but in the powerful decision to no longer give what was never valued. Let them miss the sound of your truth. Let them remember the comfort of your presence. Let them carry the memory of your voice into the quiet you left behind. And while they do, let your silence carry you back to yourself. Because in that stillness, you will hear the only voice that never stopped mattering, your own. You are not abandoning them, you are choosing you. There is a tenderness in that truth, a quiet power in finally understanding that choosing yourself is not an act of betrayal, it is an act of coming home. You've spent so long giving, so long carrying the emotional weight for others, that you forgot what it feels like to rest in your own worth. You showed up even when you were tired, gave love even when you were empty, and stayed present even when your spirit was breaking in silence. But now, you're learning. You're learning that walking away is not selfish when staying means losing yourself. For so long, you may have mistaken loyalty for sacrifice. You told yourself that if you just gave a little more, maybe they would see you. If you just held on a little longer, maybe they would finally understand. But you cannot keep setting yourself on fire just to keep others warm. You cannot keep shrinking your soul just to stay in places that refuse to grow with you. That's not love. That's survival. And your heart was not made to merely survive. It was made to thrive. Choosing you does not mean you no longer care. It means you finally see the difference between love that nourishes and love that drains. It means you've decided that peace is no longer negotiable, that you cannot keep trading your sanity for closeness that hurts. And when you walk away, not with resentment, not with rage, but with quiet resolve, you are not turning your back on anyone. You are turning toward yourself. It's easy to feel guilt in moments like these. You've been conditioned to believe that putting yourself first is wrong, that you owe others your loyalty, even at the cost of your own well-being. But what good is loyalty if it leaves you empty? What good is love if it teaches you to abandon your own needs? The truth is, when you choose you, you are giving others permission to do the same. You are modeling the courage it takes to break the cycle, to say, this is not enough for me anymore, and to walk away without apology. Let them miss you. Let them sit with the space you leave behind and wonder what happened. Let them feel the silence. It used to be filled with your care, your laughter, your effort, because when you're no longer there to bridge the distance, to initiate the conversation, to smooth over every wound, they'll feel the difference. And maybe, just maybe, they will understand that you were never the one abandoning them. You were the one holding everything together until you couldn't anymore. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about making anyone hurt. This is about finally realizing that your soul deserves rest, that your time is precious, that your heart should not have to prove its worth over and over again. And if they could not see your value when you were present, then your absence may be the only voice they finally hear. Choosing you means reclaiming all the parts of yourself that were scattered in pieces, the parts you gave away in hopes of being loved, seen, appreciated. It means gathering your energy like sacred fire, no longer giving it to those who didn't protect it. It means learning that walking away does not make you heartless, it makes you whole. You are not abandoning anyone. You are simply no longer willing to abandon yourself. There is no shame in that. There is strength, wisdom, and deep self-love. You are allowed to choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and healing over harm. And in doing so, you become more of yourself, not less. You become a living truth. That love begins not with others, but with the way you treat your own heart. So let them miss you, not because you disappeared, but because you finally showed up for yourself. Those who took you for granted will remember you most when you're no longer there. It is often the nature of human hearts to recognize the value of something only when it becomes memory. While you were present, they saw you as constant, always available, always understanding, always forgiving. Your kindness became a background, your patience, a quiet expectation. Your loyalty, something they assumed would never falter. And yet, you remained, you stayed. Not because they asked, but because your heart was built to give, to nurture, to be the quiet anchor in a world that shifts too often. But even the strongest soul grows tired. Even the gentlest heart knows when it is given all it can. There comes a moment, not dramatic, not loud, when something in you decides that enough is enough. Not because you stopped loving, but because you started listening to your own silence. That soft whisper inside that said, "This is not what love is meant to feel like." And when you finally step back, when you finally stop being the one who always holds it together, something shifts. You do not storm out. You do not slam doors. You simply stop showing up in the same way. You no longer chase. You no longer over-explain. You no longer sacrifice your peace just to maintain proximity. And in that space, they begin to feel what they never took time to notice. The warmth that vanished, the laughter that stopped, the attention that used to be effortless. They feel it not in anger, but in absence. Because now there is a gap, a void they cannot name but feel deeply. When someone has grown used to your constant presence, they forget it's a choice, not a guarantee. They forget that every message, every call, every gesture came from love, not obligation. And when those things stop, when the flow of effort dries up, they begin to understand that they had something rare, not perfect, but real. And in hindsight, it becomes golden. The very things they overlooked now echo in their minds. The way you remembered their smallest preferences, the way you held space for their pain, the way you made life a little softer. Let them remember you not with bitterness, but with reverence. Let them carry your memory like a mirror, showing them what they had and what they didn't hold on to. Let them sit with the realization that people like you don't come around twice. And while they piece together the picture of your presence, you are not waiting. You are not hoping they call. You are not pausing, you're healing for their reflection. You are walking forward, lighter, clearer, and more rooted in your worth. There is a sacred grace in becoming unforgettable, not because you demanded it, but because you were true. Because you gave without condition, because you stayed when it was hard. And now that you are gone, not in distance, but in energy, that truth speaks louder than any goodbye ever could. And yes, some of them will change. Some of them will wake up and wish they had done better, but your job is not to return. Your job is to grow, to become even more of who you were always meant to be, to create space for the kind of love and friendship that does not require proving your worth. The kind that sees you, hears you, and honors you without needing your absence to understand your importance. You don't have to worry about being forgotten. People remember those who showed up. People remember those who loved them right, even if they didn't realize it then. They will carry you with them, sometimes with regret, sometimes with gratitude, but always with the knowledge that they had something they didn't fully understand until it was gone. Let them miss you. Let your memory rise in the quiet moments when they wonder why the light feels different. And while they remember, you will have moved on. not empty, but full of your own power. So when the time comes, let them miss you, not out of pride, not from bitterness, but because you finally chose peace over noise, worth over waiting, and truth over tolerance. Let your absence echo the value your presence once brought. Let your silence speak for all the times you were unheard, and as you walk forward, carry no resentment in your heart. Only the quiet dignity of someone who loved fully and finally decided to love themselves more. You are not cold for stepping away. You are courageous. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are wise. Trust that those meant for you will find you again, and this time they'll see you clearly. Good luck on your journey of self-respect, healing, and truth. And thank you for showing up for yourself first. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when we are called to unclench our hands and let go of what we cannot hold. We grip so tightly to old wounds, to yesterday's sorrow, to people who were never meant to stay, and to battles that were never ours to fight. We tell ourselves that if we keep holding on, if we keep forcing the shape of things, then somehow life will bend to our will. But life has never been a servant to our fear. Life waits for no one, and it does not bloom in a fist that refuses to open. We were not born to walk burdened by chains of control. We were born to walk light, to move forward, to rise in grace and power. There is a quiet strength that comes when we release what was never ours to carry. It is not weakness to let go, it is wisdom. For only when our hands are free can we reach for tomorrow. Only when our hearts are unchained can we hear the music of a new beginning. Think of a tree in autumn. The leaves turn, and when their season is over, the tree does not cling. It lets them fall. It trusts the process of change. It trusts that spring will come again. If a tree can let go and still stand tall, still stretch toward the sky, then so can we. We must learn to bless what has gone, to thank it for its lesson, and then release it into the wind. There is a common misunderstanding in the world that strength is measured by how long we can hold on, how tightly we can grip, how determinedly we can cling to something even when it is slipping through our fingers. We grow up hearing words like endurance, persistence, and resilience, and while these are noble and necessary virtues, they are often confused with refusal to release. True strength, however, does not always roar in the grasp. Sometimes it whispers in the release. It is not in the clenched fist, but in the open palm. True strength is found not in holding tighter, but in knowing when to let go. Think for a moment about a person who holds on to a rope that is burning their hands. They believe that holding on proves courage. But the rope is fraying, the pain is deepening, and still they refuse to release. Is that true strength, or is it fear disguised as endurance? The stronger choice is often the harder one, the one that requires more faith, more trust, more courage. It is to unclench the hand, to release the rope, and to believe that we will not fall into nothingness, but into something new, something waiting to catch us. We hold on because we think control is power. We believe if we can keep our hands wrapped around people, around circumstances, around outcomes, then we can protect ourselves from pain, from loss, from uncertainty. But life is not made to be controlled in this way. Life is a river. It moves, it bends, it rushes, it rests. When we try to dam it with our fear, we end up drowning in our own resistance. Yet when we allow it to flow, when we stand firm but flexible, we find that the current carries us exactly where we are meant to be. Strength is not the refusal to let go of people who have already walked their part in our story. Strength is not replaying what went wrong or clinging to what might have been. Strength is standing in the middle of pain and saying, I will not allow this to define me. I will not chain myself to what has already finished its work in me. Strength is releasing the hand that does not hold us back, releasing the voice that no longer speaks truth to us, releasing the season that has already passed. When you let go, you are not saying the past had no value. You are not saying the love you gave was wasted or the lessons you learned were meaningless. You are honoring those moments for what they were and choosing to no longer let them imprison what you can yet become. That is courage. That is wisdom. That is power. The tree does not fight to keep its leaves when their season is done. It lets them fall gently to the ground, trusting the cycle of life, trusting the promise of spring. And in the letting go, it makes room for new life to appear. The branch that clings too tightly cannot grow fresh leaves. In the same way, our souls cannot grow if our hands are too full of yesterday. Letting go does not mean forgetting. It does not mean erasing. It does not mean denying the importance of what was. It means carrying forward only what serves our growth, only what adds strength to our spirit, only what breathes life into our days. The rest must be released. To know this difference, to practice this wisdom, is the truest kind of strength. So when you feel fear rise as you think of loosening your grip, remember that strength is not in the clinging. Strength is in the courage to trust the unknown, in the faith to believe that something greater is ahead, in the wisdom to understand that release is not defeat, but preparation. The strongest among us are not those who never let go, but those who open their hands, open their hearts, and walk forward free. And that is where growth begins. There is a quiet truth that often goes unnoticed in the noise of life. The truth is this: when we release what no longer serves us, when we loosen our grip on what weighs heavy, when we stop filling every corner of our heart with what has already passed, we create space for new blessings to arrive. Blessings cannot enter a life already crowded with yesterday's burdens. Joy cannot dwell in a heart that refuses to let go of sorrow. Love cannot take root where fear has built its walls. The act of letting go is not simply an ending, it is an opening, a sacred invitation for newness to flow in. Think of a house filled with old furniture, broken chairs, worn-out tables, cracked mirrors. If someone offered you a beautiful new gift, a piece of furniture strong and bright, you would have no place to put it. It would remain outside the door, waiting while you sat among what was broken, unwilling to clear space. This is how life works. Blessings often stand at the edge of our lives, waiting for us to make room. We say we want change, but we do not release what blocks it. We say we want love, but we clutch fear. We say we want peace, but we hold tightly to grudges. It is not that life refuses to give. It is that our hands are already too full to receive. Every ending carries with it an invisible seed of beginning. The pain of goodbye, the ache of release, the emptiness that follows letting go, these are not signs of loss alone. They are signs that space has been made. They are proof that something new now has room to enter. If we trust the rhythm of life, we will see that emptiness is never truly empty. It is a waiting ground. It is fertile soil. And in that soil, the blessings of tomorrow are preparing to grow. It is easy to believe that letting go will leave us with nothing. That if we release the familiar, we will be left alone, stranded, broken. But life does not work in that way. What is emptied is always filled. What is released is always replaced. The ocean never loses water. When a wave pulls back, it only prepares to send forth another wave stronger and brighter. The same is true for us. When we let go, we are not stepping into nothing. We are stepping into the possibility of more, into the gift of renewal. Consider how many times you have feared releasing something, only to look back later and realize that the moment of letting go was the very moment life began to change for the better. That heartbreak led you to discover your strength. That loss pushed you to find a new purpose. That door closing forced you to notice another door wide open. The blessings were always waiting, but they could not reach you while your hands clung to what was not meant to stay. We must trust that life is generous, that the universe is abundant, that our Creator has not forgotten us. When we release bitterness, forgiveness finds room. When we release doubt, hope finds its way in. When we release fear, courage rises up. When we release control, peace gently settles. This is the sacred exchange of life. What we release creates the space for what we most deeply desire. It takes courage to trust this process. It takes faith to believe that letting go is not losing. It takes patience to wait for blessings to arrive. But when they do, when new joy fills the spaces once occupied by sorrow, when new opportunities rise in the places once crowded by fear, you will see that the act of release was not a loss at all. It was a gift. Letting go is the door we open so blessings can walk in. There is a beauty in recognizing that we are not here to control everything. Life has its rhythm, a tide that rises and falls, a current that moves whether we wish it or not. We often exhaust ourselves trying to command it, to stop the waves from coming in or to push them forward when they are meant to be still. Yet the truth is simple. We cannot control the tide, but we can choose how we sail upon it. The ocean will never bend to our will, but we can learn to set our sails, adjust our course, and move with its power rather than against it. Many of us spend years fighting battles we cannot win. We try to shape people into who we want them to be. We try to force circumstances to unfold in ways that suit our plans. We try to hold back time, to resist change, to cling to seasons that have already served their purpose. In doing so, we wear ourselves thin. We grow weary not because life is too heavy, but because we insist on carrying what was never ours to carry. The tide will not stop because we demand it. The waves will not still because we fear their rise. What we can do is learn how to ride them. A sailor does not curse the storm, for the storm will not vanish at his words. Instead, he steadies his boat, tightens his ropes, and waits with patience for the calm to come. He trusts his ability to endure the weather and trusts the sea's promise that calm always follows the storm. In the same way, we must learn to accept that control is not our power, but responses. We cannot control what life brings, but we can control how we stand, how we respond, how we rise. It is in the letting go of control that peace enters. Imagine trying to hold the wind in your hands. You cannot. The tighter you close your fists, the more it slips through. Life is like that. It was never meant to be gripped tightly. It was meant to be lived with openness, with trust, with courage to adjust when the current shifts. And when we accept this, the burden falls from our shoulders. The tide becomes not an enemy, but a guide, not a threat, but a teacher. Those who insist on controlling everything find themselves constantly at war with life. They live in frustration, in fear, in disappointment, because the world refuses to bend. But those who choose to sail, those who learn to let the wind fill their sails instead of fighting against it, discover freedom. They may not decide the direction of the tide, but they decide the direction of their heart. They may not silence the waves, but they can decide whether they drown in them or rise upon them. The greatest growth comes when we release the need for absolute control and instead embrace faith. Faith that the tide is not against us. Faith that storms will pass. Faith that even when the waves feel overwhelming, they are carrying us to a shore we could not reach on our own. Control whispers false comfort, but faith builds true strength. We are not called to be masters of the ocean. We are called to be sailors upon it. We are called to trust the journey, to adjust our sails, to find balance in the movement of life. The tide will rise and fall, seasons will change, storms will come and go. Our task is not to demand that the sea obey us, but to live fully, courageously, and wisely as it carries us forward. We cannot control the tide, but we can choose how we sail upon it, and in that choice, we find our freedom. There is a gentle truth that many resist, yet it is one of the most powerful lessons life offers. The past has already done its work, and no matter how tightly we cling to it, no matter how many times we replay its scenes, it will not change. Releasing the past is not about denying what happened or pretending it did not shape us. It is about freeing the heart to embrace the future without chains. When we keep looking back at what has already been written, we rob ourselves of the chance to write the pages ahead. Growth is never found in yesterday. It is always waiting in tomorrow. Too often we hold the past like a heavy stone pressed to our chest. We say we carry it from memory, but in truth, we carry it out of fear. Fear that letting go means forgetting. Fear that if we move forward, we betray what has already shaped us. But carrying yesterday's sorrow into today is like planting dead seeds and expecting them to bloom. No matter how much water you pour, nothing will grow. It is in the releasing of what is finished that the soil of the heart becomes ready for new life. Forgiveness is one of the greatest forms of release. Not just forgiveness for others, but forgiveness for ourselves. We hold on to mistakes, to regrets, to wrong turns, as if keeping them close will somehow protect us from repeating them. Yet in truth, it is the release that teaches us more. To forgive does not mean to erase. It means to accept, to learn, to let the lesson stand but allow the pain to fall away. It means to stop carrying what keeps us from walking freely into the future. Think of a bird that refuses to fly because it cannot stop looking at the broken branch it once perched upon. It mourns the branch, it grieves the loss, but the sky waits. The branch will never be whole again, but the sky is vast, open, endless. The bird's freedom begins the moment it lifts its eyes and spreads its wings. We are no different. As long as we remain tied to what was, we deny ourselves the beauty of what could be. The past has its place. It teaches, it shapes. It leaves us with wisdom we might not have gained any other way. But its place is behind us, not within our grip. We honor it by taking its lessons forward, not by chaining ourselves to its sorrow. A river does not carry the same water twice. It flows, always moving, always forward. We are meant to do the same. Letting go of the past is also about releasing old identities. Sometimes we define ourselves by what has already ended. We say, I am what I lost, I am what I failed, I am what I endured. But we are not only those things, we are more. We are becoming. As long as we let the past decide our identity, we stop ourselves from stepping into the fullness of who we can be. Release allows us to breathe new air, to imagine new possibilities, to live not as prisoners of yesterday, but as dreamers of tomorrow. There is courage in choosing to no longer drag the weight of old pain into new days. It may feel like a tearing, a breaking, but in truth it is a freeing. It is lifting the stone from your chest and discovering that your heart can beat lighter, stronger, freer. And once that heart is free, it has room to welcome new joy, new love, new purpose. Releasing the past is not losing what was valuable. It is allowing it to live where it belongs, behind you, while you walk forward into the gifts waiting ahead. And that is where the future begins. Growth is often spoken of as something we chase, something we seek, something we work hard to achieve. We strive, we push ourselves to learn, to improve, to climb. Yet there is a hidden truth about growth that is not found in the striving alone. Growth begins the moment we stop wrestling with what we cannot change. The battle we fight against the unmovable keeps us weary, keeps us distracted, keeps us small. But when we release the struggle, when we lay down the fight against what is beyond our reach, something powerful begins to happen within us. That is when growth quietly takes root. We live in a world that praises control. We are taught that strength means fixing every problem, shaping every outcome, bending every circumstance to our will. And so we wrestle with disappointments, trying to twist them into victories. We wrestle with people, trying to mold them into who we wish they were. We wrestle with the past, trying to rewrite chapters that have already been closed. Yet no matter how fierce our grip, some things cannot be forced into our design. The truth is not in winning these battles, but in recognizing that some battles are not ours to fight. The greatest weight we carry is not what life places upon us, but what we add by refusing to accept what is unchangeable. The energy we spend in resistance could be energy we use for renewal. The hours spent replaying, rethinking, reimagining could be hours spent dreaming, creating, building. When we stop pushing against the immovable, our hands are free to shape what is truly within our reach. That shift, that surrender is the beginning of growth. Imagine standing in a river with both hands against the current, trying to stop its flow. Your arms tremble, your body tires, and still the water rushes on. You cannot change the current. You cannot hold it back. But if you turn and move with it, suddenly the same river that once exhausted you becomes the very force that carries you forward. This is what happens when we stop wrestling with what we cannot control. The current of life carries us not into defeat, but into a place where we can rise stronger. Growth is not in the clinging, but in the releasing. It is in the stillness after the struggle, in the deep breath that comes when we finally admit this is not mine to fight. In that moment, our vision clears. We begin to see what we can change, what we can nurture, what we can build. We stop wasting strength on walls that will never move, and we start planting seeds in soil that can bloom. Releasing control is not passivity, it is wisdom. It is knowing the difference between the things we can shape and the things we cannot. It is choosing to put our energy where it can truly bear fruit. That wisdom is where growth begins because it shifts our focus from frustration to creation, from despair to possibility. Think of the seasons. Winter does not argue with spring, nor does autumn cling to summer. Each comes in its time, and each lets go when its work is done. That is how growth unfolds in us. We grow when we allow the seasons of life to move as they must, when we stop demanding endless summers, when we trust the rhythm that is greater than our control. The moment we stop wrestling with what we cannot change, we open ourselves to what can change. Our mindset, our choices, our response, our path forward. And in that opening, growth begins to flow like a river that no longer has to be held back. Growth begins the moment we stop wrestling with what we cannot change. There is a weight many of us carry without even realizing how heavy it has become. It is the weight of yesterday, the regrets, the disappointments, the betrayals, the pain, the choices we wish we had made differently. We strap it to our backs and rise each morning already burdened by what has passed. We tell ourselves we cannot set it down because it is part of who we are. Yet the truth is simple. Carrying yesterday's weight keeps us from rising today. We cannot climb while bent under the load of what was. We cannot step into joy when sorrow holds us down. Growth and freedom do not come from dragging the past with us. They come from laying it down, from choosing to walk unchained into the present. The past has already done its work. It has already given its lessons. To keep holding it is like carrying a bag of stones you have already counted. Each stone may have a story, a memory, a scar, but they are no longer alive. They are heavy because they are done, yet still we cling to them, believing that if we carry them long enough, they will somehow turn into something else. But stones remain stones. They will not transform in our hands. They will only weigh us down. Imagine a traveler climbing a mountain with a sack of rocks tied to their shoulders. With every step, the climb becomes harder, not because the mountain is too steep, but because the weight is unnecessary. If a traveler set down the sack, the mountain would remain the same, yet the journey would become lighter. This is our story. The mountain of life is challenging enough. Why do we add to its difficulty by carrying yesterday's pain into today? When we hold on to yesterday's weight, we block ourselves from experiencing today's blessings. We miss the laughter that could heal us, the opportunities that could shape us, the love that could surround us. Our arms are too full of what was to embrace what is. We think we are honoring the past by carrying it, but in truth, we are dishonoring the present. Releasing the weight of yesterday does not mean forgetting. It does not mean dismissing the pain or ignoring the lessons. It means acknowledging what has been, thanking it for what it taught, and then setting it down because it has no place in the new day. To rise, we must travel light. To fly, we must unclasp the chains. The more we release, the freer we become to live fully in the moment. There is courage in putting down what no longer serves us. Sometimes it feels easier to carry the weight because it is familiar. Pain becomes a strange kind of comfort when we have held it too long. But courage asks us to step into the unknown, to trust that letting go will not leave us empty, but will make us light enough to reach higher. Each sunrise is an invitation to start again, but we cannot answer that invitation if we are still tangled in yesterday's night. Each morning whispers, lay it down. This is a new chance, this is a new beginning. If we listen, if we honor that whisper, we find strength we did not know we had. We discover that life feels wider, brighter, more open when we no longer drag what is finished into what is just beginning. The truth is simple but powerful. Carrying yesterday's weight keeps us from rising today. And rising today is the only way to reach tomorrow. So often we confuse letting go with losing. We see the empty hands and believe they mean emptiness of the heart. We see the door closing and believe it signals the end of all hope. But letting go is not losing. Letting go is stepping into a greater freedom. It is the release of chains we never needed, the quiet decision to stop fighting what cannot be changed, and the courage to trust that open space is not loss but possibility. Freedom does not come from holding tighter. Freedom comes from loosening our grip and allowing life to move as it was always meant to move. When we refuse to let go, we remain bound. We become prisoners of fear, bound to the past, bound to the illusion of control, bound to relationships or circumstances that no longer breathe life into us. We call it safety, but in truth it is captivity. A bird can sit inside a cage and believe it is protected from the storm, but the storm still comes, and the cage only robs the bird of the sky. We do the same when we hold on to what is finished. We trade the vastness of our freedom for the false comfort of our chains. Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of faith. It is saying to yourself, I will no longer let yesterday's shadows darken my path. It is saying, I trust that what is meant for me will find me, and what is not meant for me has no power to hold me back. That trust is where freedom is born. We cannot step into new horizons if we are still standing guard at doors that have already closed. Think of the tree once again. Its branches release their leaves in autumn. The tree does not grieve the loss. It does not see itself as empty. It stands tall, bare, exposed, yet unafraid. Because deep within, it knows freedom. It knows that releasing is not losing. It knows that spring will return, that new life will bloom, that freedom makes space for beauty to return in a new form. So it lets go. And in that letting go, it continues to grow. We all carry moments, relationships, and dreams that we fear releasing. We tell ourselves that letting them go will mean the end of who we are, the end of what we hoped for. Yet when we look back, we see that every time we had the courage to release, something greater came. The love we lost made space for deeper love. The opportunity we missed prepared us for one that fit more perfectly. The failure that stung became the foundation of our strength. Freedom was waiting on the other side of every release. There is a peace that enters when we choose freedom over fear. It does not come all at once, but it comes. At first there may be emptiness, a silence where once there was noise. But silence is not loss. Silence is the breathing room where our souls can expand, where our hearts can open, where our lives can welcome the blessings long kept waiting. That is the freedom of letting go. So do not mistake empty hands for loss. Empty hands are ready to receive. Do not mistake closed doors for endings. Closed doors redirect you to new beginnings. Do not mistake letting go for losing. Letting go is choosing freedom, choosing peace, choosing to rise above what no longer holds value. Letting go is not losing. It is stepping into a greater freedom. As we have walked together through these reflections, one truth has risen again and again. Life is not meant to be lived with clenched fists and chained hearts. We cannot grow while gripping the past. We cannot rise while carrying yesterday's weight. And we cannot discover freedom while wrestling for control that was never ours. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the courage to trust the tide, the faith to embrace the unknown, and the strength to believe that every ending holds a hidden beginning. When we release, we do not lose, we make room. We make room for peace to settle, for joy to bloom, for love to enter, and for blessings to find their way to us. Letting go is the soil where growth takes root, the silence where hope speaks, and the freedom where our spirit learns to fly. So, as you step forward from this moment, carry this with you, unclasp your hands, lift your heart, and trust that life has more in store for you than what has already passed. The future belongs to those who dare to let go and grow. I wish you courage for your journey, light for your path, and peace for your heart. Good luck and thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, now let me ask you something. Who told you life was meant to be a battle? Who whispered in your ear long before you could understand the weight of their words that struggle is a requirement for worth? I dare say somewhere along the way, somebody sold you a lie. Because life, dear hearts, is not the cruel and twisting road we make it out to be. Life is not an enemy to be conquered. Life is not a storm meant to drown you. No, life is as simple as breath, as kind as morning light, as steady as the tide that meets the shore. It is we who lace it up in heavy boots of worry, we who wrap it in chains of doubt, we who build mountains where there ought to be smooth fields. Now, don't misunderstand me. Life will hand you lessons, sometimes wrapped in thorns. It will shake you, rattle you, make you think you can't take one more step. But even in those moments, life itself is not hard. It is our fear of moving forward that makes it feel that way, our need to control every outcome, to clutch so tightly to what we should have long since let go. Well, now listen close, because I've seen it time and time again. Life, in its simplest form, is like a river. It moves, it flows, it carries. It does not ask where the rocks lie, does not stop for fear of what's ahead. It simply moves because that is its nature. But we stubborn creatures, we stand in the middle of that river, arms stretched out, hands grasping, feet planted firm against the current. We fight against the very thing meant to carry us forward. We resist the flow, and then we call the water cruel. It's not life that's hard, my dear. It's the way we hold on. It's the way we stiffen our backs against change, the way we grip our fears like old familiar friends, the way we refuse to let go of what no longer serves us. Life does not fight us. It is we who fight life. We take simple things and tangle them up in worry, in doubt, in expectation. We take moments of joy and weigh them down with what ifs. We take love and bury it under conditions. We build walls where there should be open doors, plant thorns where there should be flowers, and then wonder why we feel so tired, so lost, so alone. Tell me, have you ever watched a bird in flight? A creature that does not question the wind, does not demand to know where it will be carried, does not fight the air that holds it up. No, a bird spreads its wings and surrenders to the sky. It does not resist because it was born to trust the flow of the wind beneath it. And so were you. But we forget, don't we? We are told that struggle is noble, that pain is proof of effort, that if something comes too easy, it must not be worth having. So we push and we pull. We hold too tightly to the past, dragging old wounds into new days. We wrestle with change, clinging to what feels familiar, even when it no longer fits. We resist the natural ebb and flow of life because we fear what waits on the other side. And in that fear, we turn ease into hardship. But life is not the enemy. Life is not a battle to be won. Life is a river, and it is moving with or without you. When you resist, you exhaust yourself, fighting against something far greater than you. But when you surrender, when you stop planting your feet so firmly in the ground, when you allow yourself to be carried instead of dragged, that's when the magic happens. That's when you find that the current is not here to drown you, but to guide you. That ease is not the absence of effort, but the absence of unnecessary struggle. That letting go is not losing control, but gaining freedom. Somewhere along the way, we were taught to doubt the natural flow of life. We were told that good things must come with a price, that love must come with conditions, that joy must be earned. But look around you. The sun does not ask permission to shine. The trees do not hesitate to grow. The river does not second-guess its path. Life moves as it was meant to, and so should you. So loosen your grip. Stop pushing against the tide. Stop making the simple things difficult. Trust that the river knows where it's going, and let it take you there. Let go and live. Let me ask you something. How much of what you worry about has ever truly come to pass? How many of the storms you prepared for never even reached your doorstep? How many nights did you lose sleep over troubles that never arrived? Worry, my dear, is nothing but borrowed trouble. It is paying a debt you don't owe, carrying a burden that was never yours to hold. And yet we do it anyway. We tuck worry under our pillows, carry it in our pockets, wear it like a second skin. We wake up with it, walk with it, and let it sit beside us at every meal. But life, sweet as it is, was never meant to be lived in fear of what might be. Life does not ask you to sit in a corner, clutching your worries like a shield. It asks you to step out, to trust, to live. And yet so many of us spend our days tangled in what ifs and maybes. What if I fail? What if I lose? What if the worst happens? But let me turn that question around. What if it doesn't? What if joy is waiting on the other side of your worry? What if ease was always meant for you and you are the only one standing in the way? We believe worry keeps us safe, as if holding on to it will change the outcome, as if clenching our fears in our fists will somehow stop life from unfolding the way it is meant to. But hear me now. Worry does not prevent trouble. It only steals today's peace. It does not keep the bad away. It only keeps you from enjoying the good. The rain will fall whether you fear it or not. The sun will rise whether you trust it or not. So why waste another moment locked in the prison of your own thoughts? Trust. Now that is a mighty thing. Trust is choosing to believe that no matter what comes, you will find your way through. Trust is understanding that you were not built to crumble. Trust is knowing that even in the hardest of times, life has a way of working things out in ways you never imagined. But trust and worry, they cannot live in the same house. One will always push the other out, and so you must choose. Will you hold on to fear, or will you take the hand of trust and walk forward? Will you continue carrying burdens that were never yours, or will you set them down and finally allow yourself to breathe? Look at the birds in the sky. They do not store up food for the winter, yet they eat. Look at the flowers in the field. They do not toil over how they will grow, yet they bloom. Life does not worry, and yet it moves forward with grace. If nature itself can trust, why can't you? Let go of borrowed troubles. Trade them for trust. Believe that life, in all its twists and turns, is still for you, not against you. The time you waste in worry is time stolen from joy, from peace, from love. And oh, my dear, you deserve all three. People have a way of complicating things that were meant to be simple. We pile up expectations like bricks, build walls around our joy and call it responsibility. We take the small, beautiful things in life and weigh them down with our own doubts, our own fears, our own need to control. And then we wonder why happiness feels so far away, why peace seems like something for other people. But let me tell you something. Life was never meant to be so heavy. It is we who load ourselves up with unnecessary burdens. We who complicate what was always meant to be easy. Look around you. The sky does not argue with the clouds. The ocean does not fight against the shore. The trees do not resist the changing seasons. Life moves effortlessly because it understands something we seem to have forgotten. Simplicity is not lack. It is freedom. To live simply is not to live without, but to live with what truly matters. But oh, how we chase things we do not need. We convince ourselves that success is measured by how much we have, that love must be proven, that happiness is something to be earned. We fill our days with noise, our hearts with worry, our minds with endless to-do lists. We reach for more and more, as if the weight of it will somehow bring us peace. But peace, my dear, does not come from clutter. It does not come from having more, doing more, proving more. Peace comes when we strip away the unnecessary, when we stop complicating what was meant to be simple. Love does not need conditions. Joy does not require permission. Success is not found in what you own, but in how freely you live. The happiest people are not the ones who have the most, but the ones who know how to let go. Let go of the need to impress. Let go of the need to be everything to everyone. Let go of the idea that you must always be busy to be worthy. There is beauty in stillness, power in simplicity. Tell me, when was the last time you sat in silence without reaching for your phone? When was the last time you enjoyed a meal without rushing through it? When was the last time you laughed without thinking about what comes next? Life is happening right now, but too many of us are missing it because we are too busy making it complicated. Children understand something we forget as we grow older. They find joy in the smallest things. They do not need reasons to laugh. They do not need permission to play. They do not weigh themselves down with worries about tomorrow. They wake up and greet the day as it is, no more, no less. And somehow as we grow, we unlearn that kind of freedom. We trade wonder for worry, trade play for productivity, trade presence for planning. But what if you let yourself return to that simplicity? What if you stopped making things so hard? What if, instead of chasing more, you embraced what is already here? Instead of running towards some future version of happiness, you allowed yourself to be happy now. Happiness, my dear, is not something you find at the end of a long, difficult road. It is something you create in the quiet moments, in the simple joys, in the spaces where you allow yourself to just be. You do not have to complicate it. You do not have to chase it. It is already within you, waiting for you to choose it. So breathe, slow down, let go of the things that do not serve you, simplify and set yourself free. People walk through this life believing they must earn happiness. They chase it like a prize at the end of a long race, thinking if they just work a little harder, prove themselves a little more, carry the weight without complaint, then, maybe then, they will deserve to be happy. But let me tell you something, and I need you to hear me well. Happiness is not a reward. It is not something given only to those who struggle the most, who suffer the longest, who sacrifice everything in the name of being good enough. Happiness is not earned, it is allowed. But how many of us refuse to allow it? How many of us turn away from joy as if it were some forbidden thing, as if we have not yet done enough to deserve it? We tell ourselves we will be happy when the work is done, when the bills are paid, when we have climbed the next hill, solved the next problem, reached the next goal. But what happens then? Another task appears, another hill rises, another goal pulls us forward, and happiness is pushed aside once again, always waiting, always just out of reach. But life does not work that way. Life is not waiting to give you permission to be happy. Life is not keeping score, deciding who has done enough to earn joy. No, life offers happiness freely in every moment, in every breath. It is we who turn it down, we who make excuses, we who decide that now is not the right time, that we must prove ourselves first. But happiness is not a test to pass. It is not a medal to be won. It is here, it is now, it is yours, if only you would allow yourself to take it. Think of a child laughing freely, running barefoot through the grass, twirling in circles just for the joy of it. That child does not ask, do I deserve this moment? That child does not say, let me earn this laughter first. No, that child simply feels joy and embraces it. But somewhere along the way, we lose that freedom. We convince ourselves that happiness is conditional, that it must be justified. And oh, how we complicate it. We tell ourselves we need more success, more money, more approval from others. We tie our happiness to things that can be lost, things that can be taken away. We build our joy on shaky ground, and then we wonder why it never feels steady. But happiness was never meant to be built on conditions. It is not something to be bargained for. It is not a prize at the end of suffering. It is something you can choose right now in this very moment. Do not wait for happiness. Do not put it on hold. Do not tell yourself you will be happy someday when everything is perfect, because life will never be perfect, but it will be beautiful. And that beauty is enough. That beauty is worth celebrating. That beauty is already here, waiting for you to stop running long enough to see it. So laugh today, not because you earned it, but because laughter is good for the soul. Rest today, not because you worked hard enough, but because you are worthy of rest. Love today not because you have proven yourself, but because love is your birthright. Happiness is not something you must chase, it is something you must allow, and my dear, you are allowed. The mind is a restless thing. It twists, it turns, it picks apart what should be simple, pulling at loose threads until even the clearest path seems tangled and uncertain. It is full of questions, full of doubts, full of the endless noise of what ifs and should haves. The mind will make a maze out of a straight road, convince you that peace is something you must earn, that joy is something to be figured out instead of felt. But the heart, oh, the heart knows better. The heart does not complicate. The heart does not hesitate. The heart knows ease. But we do not trust the heart, do we? We trust the mind with all its rules and logic, all its worries and second guesses. We let it fill our days with overthinking, with planning, with endless striving for answers we already hold deep inside us. We let the mind build walls where there should be open doors. We let it tell us that love must be analyzed, that happiness must be earned, that nothing worth having comes easy. And so we push and we pull, we struggle and we fight, and we wonder why peace feels so far away. But let me tell you something. Peace is not complicated. Love is not a puzzle. Happiness is not a riddle to be solved. The heart understands things the mind will never grasp because the heart does not need proof. It does not need permission. It does not need explanations. The heart knows when something is right, when something is true, when something is meant to be. The heart does not resist life. It flows with it. Think of the moments when you have felt truly at ease. Not the moments when everything was perfect, but the moments when you simply let yourself be. The laughter that came without effort, the love that felt like home, the quiet understanding between you and someone who needed no words to know your soul. Those moments were not created by thinking harder, by analyzing every detail, by forcing things to make sense. They happened because you allowed them to happen. They happened because for once you trusted what you felt instead of what you feared. But we live in a world that teaches us to distrust our own hearts. We are told to be cautious, to be rational, to weigh every decision against an endless list of pros and cons. We are told that if something comes easily, it must not be worth much, that struggle is a sign of value, that suffering is proof of effort. But tell me, who decided that hardship is the price of happiness? Who decided that ease is a weakness? Who convinced us that life must be difficult in order to be meaningful? Ease does not mean laziness. Ease does not mean giving up. Ease means walking the path that was always meant for you instead of fighting to fit into one that was not. It means trusting that the things meant for you will not need to be forced, that love does not have to be hard to be real, that peace is not something you must chase, it is something you must allow. A bird does not argue with the sky. A river does not struggle to find the ocean. The heart does not fight against what it knows is true. It is only the mind that complicates what was always meant to be simple. It is only the mind that resists what the heart has already accepted. So let go. Let go of the need to overthink, to overanalyze, to force what was always meant to come naturally. Trust that your heart already knows what your mind is still trying to figure out. Trust that life was never meant to be as hard as we make it. Trust that ease is not a mistake, but a gift. And my dear, it is a gift you are allowed to accept. People spend their whole lives gripping the reins, pulling hard, trying to steer the world to fit their plans. They map out every step, calculate every move, convince themselves that control is the key to peace. They hold on so tight, fearing that if they loosen their grip, even for a moment, everything will fall apart. But let me tell you something. The more you try to control life, the more life resists. The tighter you hold, the more things slip through your fingers. Life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be lived. And yet we wrestle with it, thinking that if we just push a little harder, plan a little better, anticipate every possible outcome, we can keep pain away, keep disappointment at bay, keep things just as we want them to be. But life does not work that way. It is not a straight road. It is not a puzzle to be solved. It is a river, and it moves whether you fight it or not. Now, don't mistake me. This is not to say you should drift without direction, without purpose, without care. No, you are meant to move with intention, to make choices that matter, to build a life that reflects who you are. But the moment you start thinking that everything must go exactly as you plan, the moment you start resisting every twist, every turn, every unexpected change, that is the moment you begin to suffer. Have you ever watched a dancer lost in the rhythm of the music? They do not stiffen their limbs, do not fight the beat. They let the music guide them. They surrender to the movement, and in doing so, they become part of it. That is how life is meant to be lived, not with clenched fists, but with open hands. Not with fear of every misstep, but with trust that even the wrong turns will lead somewhere meaningful. But we, in our stubbornness, in our fear, we resist. We plan out entire futures, and when life dares to offer something different, we panic. We convince ourselves that things are falling apart when really they are falling into place in a way we cannot yet see. We fight change as if it were the enemy, when in truth it is the very thing that keeps us growing. Tell me, when was the last time something in your life went exactly as you planned? And tell me this, was it the carefully constructed plans that led you to your greatest joys? Or was it the unexpected turns? Was it the control, or was it the letting go? Some of the best things in life happen when we release our grip, when we trust that life knows what it's doing, that not every closed door is a loss, that not every detour is a mistake. There is freedom in surrender, a kind of peace that control will never give you, because control is exhausting. And the truth is, it is an illusion. You cannot control how people will love you. You cannot control when or how change will come. You cannot control every outcome, no matter how much you try. But what you can do is choose how you show up. You can choose to meet life with trust instead of fear. You can choose to believe that even the unexpected has its place, that even the wrong turns can lead you where you need to go. So let go just a little. Soften your grip. Stop forcing, stop resisting, stop believing that you must have all the answers before you take a step forward. Life will carry you if you let it. And oh my dear, the places it will take you when you finally trust the flow. People spend so much time chasing happiness as if it is always somewhere else, somewhere ahead, just beyond reach. They run toward it like a finish line, thinking that once they arrive, once they check every box, they will finally feel complete. But happiness is not in the distant future. It is not waiting at the end of some long, exhausting journey. Happiness is here, now, in this very moment. The question is not whether it exists. The question is whether you are paying attention. Too many of us walk through life distracted. We are so busy thinking about what comes next, about what needs to be done, about how things should be, that we miss the beauty of what is. We drink our coffee, but do not taste it. We hear laughter, but do not let it sink in. We are surrounded by love, but do not fully receive it. Always moving, always planning, always waiting for a better time to be happy. But when, my dear, will it be enough? When will you finally allow yourself to enjoy the life you are living? When the work is done, when the bills are paid, when you have reached every goal, solved every problem, become the perfect version of yourself? No, because there will always be another task, another challenge, another reason to wait. If you do not decide to embrace happiness now, you may spend your whole life searching for something that was always within you. Think of the moments that have truly mattered, the way the sunlight felt on your skin on a quiet morning, the sound of your favorite song playing unexpectedly, the kindness of a stranger, the warmth of someone who loves you, holding your hand, seeing you, knowing you. These moments are not grand. They're not the things we write on our resumes, not the things that impress the world, but they are the things that make life worth living. They are the moments where happiness is found, not in the distant someday, but in the quiet now. But we have been taught to believe that happiness is something to achieve, not something to experience. We think it must be earned, that it must come from great success, from things we can measure, from accomplishments we can point to. And so we run and we strive and we exhaust ourselves trying to reach a destination that has always been right here. Happiness is not loud. It does not shout for your attention. It does not demand to be chased. It is soft. It is quiet. It is found in the spaces where you slow down, where you breathe, where you allow yourself to simply be. It is found in gratitude, in presence, in the ability to see what is already good instead of waiting for something better. So what are you waiting for? The perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect body, the perfect house, the perfect moment? Perfection is a trick of the mind. It is an illusion that keeps you running in circles, always wanting, always reaching, never arriving. But life is not meant to be lived in the pursuit of someday. Life is happening now, in the imperfection, in the messiness, in the moments you overlook because you are too busy chasing something bigger. Stop waiting. Stop postponing your joy. Stop believing that happiness is something you will find later. Open your eyes, open your heart. Let yourself feel it now, in the small things, in the quiet moments, in the life you are already living, because this moment, this breath, this day is all you are guaranteed. And oh, my dear, you deserve to make the most of it. Life was never meant to be so hard. It is we who complicate it, we who pile on burdens that were never ours to carry, we who chase happiness as if it is something to be won instead of something to be felt. But life, true life, is simple. It is found in ease, in trust, in presence. It is found in the moments we stop fighting, stop running, stop believing we must do more, be more, have more before we can finally breathe. So let go. Let go of the unnecessary weight. Let go of the need to control everything, the fear that keeps you from embracing joy, the idea that struggle is proof of worth. Happiness is not a distant prize. It is here, it is now. It is yours to claim, not when life is perfect, but exactly as it is. Live simply, love freely, trust the flow, be present for the life that is already happening, because you do not need to chase joy. It has been within you all along. Good luck on your journey, and may you walk it with lightness, with peace, and with a heart that is open to all the beauty life has to offer. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a power in today, a power that does not wait for permission, that does not ask if you are ready. Today arrives with the rising sun, full of opportunity, and it will leave whether you choose to embrace it or let it slip through your fingers. Too often we hold our breath, waiting for the perfect moment. We tell ourselves, tomorrow I will be brave. Tomorrow I will chase my dreams. Tomorrow I will live fully. But tomorrow is a promise that has not been made. Today is here. And today is yours. You see, life does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to show up. It asks you to take the first step, even when your knees shake. It asks you to speak your truth, even when your voice trembles. The gift of today is that it offers you a chance to begin again, to love deeper, to laugh louder, to stand taller in the fullness of who you are. There is a force that exists in this very moment, one that is often overlooked in the rush of daily life. It is the power of today. This moment, this breath, this very second holds more potential than we often realize. Yet, too many of us spend our time dwelling on yesterday's regrets or worrying about tomorrow's uncertainties. We chase after the future as if happiness is something waiting for us on a distant horizon. But life is not lived in the past, nor is it promised in the future. It is happening right now. Think about it. How often have we put our dreams on hold, waiting for the perfect moment? How many times have we said, I'll start tomorrow, I'll take that chance next week, I'll be happy when? But the truth is, the perfect moment may never come. The conditions may never feel just right. Life does not wait for us to be ready. It moves forward with or without our participation. The power of today is in its immediacy. Today is the only time you can act. It is the only time you can change, grow, love, and pursue what truly matters. Today is the space between what was and what could be, a bridge between the past you cannot change and the future you cannot predict. The beauty of today is that it is yours to shape. You have a choice right now to do something meaningful, to take a step toward the life you want, to express gratitude, to forgive, to create, to live. Consider this. Every great achievement, every revolution, every moment of personal transformation began with someone deciding to use their today. Every artist who painted a masterpiece, every writer who penned a great novel, every leader who changed the course of history. They did not wait for tomorrow. They started with the day they had. They embraced the power of now. Yet so often we let today slip away. We fill it with hesitation, with distractions, with self-doubt. We tell ourselves that we will live fully someday, when we have more time, when we have more confidence, when the circumstances are better. But someday is not guaranteed. The only moment you truly own is this one. So what will you do with it? Will you spend today wishing for a different time? Or will you seize the opportunity before you? Will you let hesitation hold you back? Or will you take the step, however small, toward your dreams? Will you wait for love? Or will you choose to love now? The power of today is undeniable. It is a gift, fleeting and precious. It will not wait for you to be ready. It simply is. And the most beautiful thing about today is that no matter what happened yesterday, today is a fresh start. It is a blank page, a new beginning, a chance to redefine yourself. Embrace it, honor it, live it, because today is where your life is happening. Perfection, an illusion we chase, a mirage that always seems just beyond our grasp. How often do we hold ourselves back because we feel we are not good enough, not ready enough, not flawless enough? We convince ourselves that if we cannot do something perfectly, then we should not do it at all. We hesitate, we overanalyze, we wait. But in that waiting, life passes us by. Perfection is a trap, one that keeps us from living fully and taking risks. It whispers to us that we must have everything figured out before we begin. It tells us that we should wait until we have the perfect body before we wear the dress we love, that we should wait until we are completely confident before we chase our dreams, that we should hold back our thoughts until they are polished and profound. But the truth is, no one who has ever accomplished anything meaningful did so by being perfect. They did it by showing up, by trying, by failing, by learning, by doing it messy, by doing it scared. Think about the people who inspire you, great leaders, artists, inventors, and change makers. None of them were perfect. They made mistakes, they stumbled, they doubted themselves, but they kept going. They understood that progress is more important than perfection. They knew that waiting for perfection only leads to inaction. The world does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to be real. It needs you to bring your passion, your voice, your creativity, and your courage, even if it is imperfect. Your story is not meant to be flawless. It is meant to be authentic. It is meant to have ups and downs, moments of struggle and triumph. Letting go of perfection does not mean settling for less. It does not mean giving up on excellence. It means understanding that growth comes from action, not from waiting. It means embracing mistakes as part of the journey. It means accepting that you are worthy right now, exactly as you are. So stop waiting until you have all the answers. Stop waiting until you feel fearless. Stop waiting for a moment that may never come. Start now. Start where you are with what you have. Show up imperfectly, but show up anyway. Because life does not reward those who wait for perfection. It rewards those who dare to begin. Fear is a powerful force. It whispers in our ears, telling us to stay where it's safe, to avoid risks, to remain within the boundaries of what is familiar. It convinces us that failure is too painful, that rejection is too unbearable, that uncertainty is too dangerous. Fear is persuasive. It knows exactly how to hold us back. But there is something stronger than fear, something that can break through its grip: courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is not about being fearless. It is about feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. It is about standing up even when your knees shake. It is about speaking your truth even when your voice trembles. It is about knowing that the path ahead is uncertain, but walking it anyway because something greater than fear is calling you forward. Fear will always be there. It will show up when you try something new, when you step outside of your comfort zone, when you take risks that could change your life. It will tell you that you are not ready, that you are not enough, that you will fail. But here is the secret. Fear only has power if you listen to it. Think about the moments in your life when you were truly proud of yourself. Chances are those moments did not come from playing it safe. They came from times when you took a chance, when you pushed past your doubts, when you did something that scared you. Growth does not happen in comfort. Strength is not built by avoiding challenges. Every step you take in the face of fear makes you stronger, braver, more capable. Courage is a muscle. It grows with use. The first time you stand up for yourself, the first time you go after a dream, the first time you take a risk, it feels terrifying. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And one day you will look back and realize that the things that once scared you no longer have power over you. History is filled with people who chose courage over fear. People who changed the world not because they were fearless, but because they were brave enough to act despite their fear. They spoke when others remained silent. They stood up when others backed down. They dared to dream, to create, to lead, even when they were uncertain. And now it is your turn. What is fear keeping you from doing? What dream have you put on hold? What opportunity have you let pass by because fear told you that you weren't ready? You do not have to wait for courage to appear fully formed. You simply have to take the first step. Speak up, show up, try. You might stumble, you might fall, but you will rise. And with each step you will prove to yourself that you are stronger than your fear. Courage is not about never being afraid. It is about deciding that your dreams, your goals, and your life are worth more than the comfort of playing it safe. So take a deep breath, feel the fear, and do it anyway. There is a truth that many struggle to accept, a truth that is often buried beneath self-doubt, societal expectations, and past disappointments. You are enough, right now as you are. Not when you lose the weight, not when you get the promotion, not when you have the approval of others. Right now, in this moment, you are worthy. But the world does not always make it easy to believe this. From the time we are young, we are given messages that tell us we must prove our worth, that we must earn love, that we must accomplish something great before we can feel valuable. We are told to compare ourselves to others, to measure our success against someone else's, to seek validation in titles, achievements, or appearances. And when we fall short, because perfection is impossible, we begin to doubt ourselves. But worth is not something that can be given or taken away. It is not something you must earn. It is something that is already within you. You do not need to be like anyone else. You do not need to fit into someone else's expectations. The fact that you exist, that you are here. Think about a newborn baby. A baby does not have to do anything to be worthy of love. We do not look at an infant and say, "Earn my love first." No. We cherish them simply because they are here. And yet, somewhere along the way, we convince ourselves that we must earn what was always ours to begin with. We believe we must work ourselves to exhaustion to be valued, that we must constantly prove our worth to the world. But what if you didn't? What if you decided today that you are already worthy? Embracing your worth means letting go of the need for outside approval. It means understanding that your value does not decrease just because someone else does not see it. It means treating yourself with the same kindness and respect that you so freely give to others. How many times have you been quick to comfort a friend who is doubting themselves, but harsh with yourself in your own moments of doubt? How often do you celebrate the successes of others while minimizing your own? You would never tell someone you love that they are not good enough, so why say it to yourself? Embracing your worth means standing in your truth. It means recognizing that you are deserving of joy, of love, of peace. Not because you have checked off a list of accomplishments, but simply because you are here. It means refusing to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. It means walking with confidence, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. And when you truly embrace your worth, something powerful happens. You stop settling. You stop accepting less than you deserve. You stop seeking validation in places that were never meant to define you. You start choosing relationships that uplift you. You start believing in your own voice. You start moving through the world with the quiet strength of someone who knows their value. So today I challenge you. Stop waiting for permission to see your own greatness. Stop waiting for the world to tell you that you are enough. You already are. Always have been, always will be. Embrace it, believe it, live it. There is a dream inside of you, a goal you have thought about, a vision that excites you, a change you want to make. But if you are like many people, that dream has been sitting on the shelf, waiting. You tell yourself, "I'll start next week. I'll try when I feel more ready. I'll take that step when the time is right." But here's the truth. There is no perfect time. There is only now. Waiting is comfortable. Waiting feels safe. It allows us to believe that we are preparing, that we are being responsible, that we are just one step away from taking action. But too often, waiting becomes a habit. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into months, and before we know it, years have passed, and the dream remains just that, a dream. The most successful people in the world are not necessarily the smartest, the most talented, or the most privileged. They are the ones who take action. They are the ones who do not let fear, doubt, or uncertainty stop them. They understand that action is what separates those who succeed from those who only wish. Think about how many people have ideas for books, but never write the first sentence. How many people want to start a business, but never take the first step? How many people dream of traveling, but never book the ticket? The difference between a life well lived and a life full of regret is action. And here's something important. You don't have to be ready to begin. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know exactly how everything will work out. The path will reveal itself as you walk it. Growth does not happen in stillness, it happens in motion. Taking action does not mean you won't fail. You will. But failure is not the enemy. Inaction is. Every mistake is a lesson. Every setback is a stepping stone. The only true failure is never starting at all. So what are you waiting for? If you've been thinking about making a change in your life, this is your sign. If you have been waiting for permission, this is it. The time is now. Not tomorrow, not someday, not when things are easier, now. Because life does not wait. Opportunities do not last forever. The people you love will not always be here. The energy and passion you feel today may not be the same tomorrow. So start. Take the first step, even if it's small. Apply for the job. Make the phone call. Write the first page. Say yes. Say no. Change direction. Whatever it is, do it now. Because the life you want is on the other side of action. And the only way to get there is to begin. Time is the one thing we can never get back. No matter how much wealth, success, or knowledge we acquire, we cannot buy more time. Every day that passes is one we will never live again. And yet how often do we move through our days as if they are infinite? We tell ourselves that we have plenty of time to chase our dreams, to mend broken relationships, to say the things we truly feel. But the truth is, we don't know how many todays we have left. Each morning, we are given a gift, a fresh start, a new chance to live fully. But too often, we let today slip away in distractions and hesitation, in waiting for the right time. We get caught up in routines, responsibilities, and worries about the future, forgetting that right now is all we truly have. We spend our time on things that do not bring us joy, hold on to grudges that weigh us down, and push off the things that truly matter. And then one day, we look back and wonder where the time went. But what if, instead of letting today pass us by, we made the conscious choice to make today count? Making today count does not mean we have to accomplish something huge. It does not mean we have to climb mountains, change the world in a day, or be perfect. It means we live with intention. It means we wake up with gratitude for another chance to breathe, to love, to experience life. It means we stop taking the little things for granted. The sunrise, the laughter of a friend, the simple moments that make life beautiful. It means we stop waiting. We stop waiting to tell people how much they mean to us. We stop waiting to forgive, to let go, to heal. We stop waiting to chase the dreams that set our souls on fire, because waiting does not add more time. It only takes it away. How many times have we said, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll start next year, one day I'll take that risk? But what if tomorrow never comes? What if the opportunity we keep putting off disappears? What if we realized too late that the things we postponed were the things that mattered most? Making today count means showing up fully. It means choosing joy even in difficult moments. It means being present, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. It means taking chances, stepping outside our comfort zones, and refusing to live in fear. It means treating the people around us with kindness because we never know what they are going through. It means embracing every experience, every conversation, every challenge, because they are all part of our journey. It means creating memories that we will cherish instead of regrets that we will carry. At the end of our lives, we will not remember the days we spent scrolling through our phones, complaining about minor inconveniences, or hesitating to go after what we truly wanted. We will remember the moments we lived fully, the moments we loved deeply, the moments we took risks and felt alive. So do not waste today. Do not let it slip through your fingers while you wait for a better time. Do not wait for happiness, for love, for success to come to you. Go out and create it, because today is not just another day, it is an opportunity, a chance to grow, to connect, to make a difference, to feel, to live. And when the sun sets and today becomes yesterday, let it be a day you are proud of, a day that mattered. Life is happening right now, not in some distant future, not in the memories of yesterday, but in this very moment. Every breath you take is an opportunity. Every sunrise is a reminder that you have been given another chance to live, to grow, to love, to create. Let go of the illusion of perfection. It will only hold you back. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is an excuse. It does not exist. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite it. Strength is built through action, not hesitation. Your worth is not determined by the opinions of others or by external achievements. You are already enough, exactly as you are. Make today count, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Say the words you have been holding back. Take the step you have been afraid to take. Chase the dream you have been postponing, because life does not wait. The only difference between those who succeed and those who regret is this: action. So do not waste the time you have been given. Let go of fear, embrace your worth, and take bold action toward the life you want. Because at the end of the day, when you look back on your journey, the greatest satisfaction will come from knowing that you did not just exist, you lived. And that living is the, it's a deep.
Dear friends, there are moments in life when words are heavy and yet they say nothing at all. We rush to fill the air with noise, to explain, to argue, to defend, and to be heard. But there is a power greater than speech, a strength deeper than any argument, and that is the quiet gift of silence. When you sit in silence, when you allow yourself to listen with more than your ears, you begin to hear the trembling of a heart, the ache in a soul, the unshed tears that do not fall but weigh down like stones. Silence is not empty. Silence is not weak. Silence is full of truth, full of secrets, full of unspoken feelings that words often try to cover. When you allow silence to teach you, you will discover that people are saying more than their lips could ever form. The way someone pauses, the way their eyes turn away, the way their hands tighten or loosen, all of this is language. You do not need a dictionary to understand it. You need patience. You need humility. You need the courage to wait. Silence will show you who is hurting and who is afraid. It will show you who longs to be seen, but does not yet know how to ask. We are living in a world that praises noise. We celebrate those who speak the loudest, and we often ignore those who whisper. Yet the whisper holds a depth that the loud voice cannot always carry. A whisper is tender, a whisper is honest, and silence is the space where that whisper can breathe. If you learn to sit with silence, you learn to sit with truth. You learn to be present not just with another person, but also with yourself. Think of the times you have felt misunderstood. Was it not because someone rushed to answer before they paused to feel you? Think of the times you longed for someone, not to solve your problem, not to fix your pain, but simply to be there quietly, faithfully. That is the gift we give when we allow silence to speak. We are saying, I see you, I honor you, I am here with you even when I say nothing. That presence is more powerful than 1,000 speeches. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers waiting to be felt. When you step into silence, it may seem at first like a void, like nothing is happening, like space that demands to be filled with sound. But if you stay with it long enough, if you resist the urge to rush into words, you will discover that silence has a pulse. It carries answers that your ears cannot catch, but your spirit can. In silence, 1,000 emotions are whispering. 1,000 truths are rising, waiting for someone patient enough, gentle enough, open enough to hear them. Too often we think communication is only about speaking. We assume that clarity comes from sentences, that understanding comes from explanation. Yet have you not noticed that words sometimes fail? They slip, they stumble, they fall short of what the heart is etching to say. A person may say, I am fine, while their silence cries out for comfort. A person may smile and laugh, while the silence between their laughter holds a weight that cannot be disguised. If we listen only to the words, we may miss the truth. But if we honor the silence, we will see what the words tried to cover. There is wisdom in slowing down and letting the quiet do the teaching. Silence has always carried the deeper message. The ocean has silence between its waves. The wind has silence between its songs. Even in music, it is the pauses between the notes that create rhythm, that give beauty to the melody. So it is with people. The silence between their words, the stillness behind their eyes holds meaning that cannot be expressed through speech alone. Silence does not push itself upon us. It waits. It invites. It asks us to be attentive, to set aside the noise of our own minds and simply be present. When we do, we discover answers that no argument could reveal. We learn what hurts in another without them confessing it aloud. We sense their longing, their fear, their hope, without them shaping it into words. Silence is the language of the soul, and if you allow it to speak, it will give you truth raw and unpolished. In relationships, whether with family, friends, or strangers, silence can be the most compassionate response. Not silence of neglect or avoidance, but silence of presence. To sit with someone without rushing to speak is to say, I am here with you. I do not need to control this moment. I am listening to more than just your voice. That kind of silence answers the question we all carry. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Do I matter? The answer is yes, spoken without sound. Silence also teaches us about ourselves. When we sit in stillness, we begin to hear our own hidden truths. The silence inside us is not empty either. It is filled with lessons, with awareness, with clarity that our busy minds often drown out. In that inner quiet, we discover the answers we have been chasing in noise. We discover what we truly feel, what we truly need, what we truly are. The answers were always there, waiting in the silence. So when you are faced with another person's pain, or when you are standing at the edge of your own confusion, remember that silence is not a void to be feared. It is not emptiness waiting to be filled with chatter. It is a presence, alive and speaking in ways deeper than sound. It holds answers waiting to be felt. To trust silence is to trust that life has ways of communicating beyond the spoken word. To welcome silence is to welcome wisdom that noise cannot give. And when you honor that, you will not only understand others more deeply, you will understand yourself. Good luck and thank you. In stillness, the heart speaks louder than the tongue. We live in a world where voices rise quickly, where noise surrounds us at every turn, and where speaking has been mistaken for strength. But the truth is, the most powerful messages are often spoken without words. When everything becomes quiet, when we allow ourselves to pause, the heart begins to express what the tongue cannot capture. A trembling in the voice, a long breath before answering, an unguarded glance downward. These are the languages of the heart, and they echo far louder than polished sentences ever could. Think about the last time you sat in the company of someone you deeply care for and no words were spoken. Did it not feel as though their presence spoke volumes? Did you not sense their love, their worry, their unspoken hopes without them having to shape it into words? That is the power of stillness. It turns the invisible into something felt. It teaches us that the human heart has a voice all its own, and if we slow down, if we honor the silence, we can hear it clearly. The tongue can be clever, but the heart is honest. Words may try to disguise what is truly felt, but silence will always reveal it. Someone may say they are strong when inside they are breaking. They may claim they are happy when sorrow is resting in their chest. If we listen only to their words, we may believe the mask. But if we allow the stillness to guide us, we hear the truth beneath the mask. We sense the sadness hiding behind the smile, the longing in the pauses, the love in the eyes that speak before the mouth ever moves. Stillness does not rush. It allows emotions to rise like smoke from a fire, slow and undeniable. And in that rising, the heart is given permission to speak. Too often we silence the heart with words, forcing ourselves to explain, to justify, to cover feelings we fear will not be understood. Yet in quietness, the heart finds its courage. It speaks in tears that fall without warning. It speaks in laughter that bursts out of nowhere. It speaks in the way two people can sit together, saying nothing, yet feel completely connected. When we allow stillness to be present in our conversations, we invite truth to enter. We give others the space to show us who they are without interruption. We also give ourselves the chance to feel instead of react. There is no greater gift than to sit with another person in silence and still feel seen, still feel heard. It means the heart has spoken its truth and has been received. That is the kind of connection words alone cannot create. Stillness is also the place where healing begins. The heart that has been wounded does not always know how to form the right words. But in the quiet, it can breathe. In the stillness, it can release what it was holding on to. Sometimes the loudest cry is the silence after an argument, the silence after a loss, the silence after words have failed. That silence is not empty. It is filled with the voice of the heart saying, "Please understand me. Please stand with me. Please let me be." The beauty of stillness is that it teaches us patience. It shows us that we do not need to demand answers right away, because the heart will reveal itself in time. It shows us that listening is more than waiting to speak. It is surrendering to the moment, trusting that what is unspoken often carries more truth than what is said. So let us not fear silence. Let us not run from stillness. Let us welcome it, because in that calm space, the heart finds its courage and speaks more clearly than the tongue ever could. It is in the quiet moments that we hear the voice of love, the cry of pain, and the song of hope that no words could ever capture. And when we learn to listen to the heart in stillness, we will never mistake noise for understanding again. Good luck and thank you. Pausing to listen in silence is the highest form of respect. when we slow down long enough to quiet our own need to respond, when we hold back the rush of words that rise quickly to our lips, we create space for another person to be fully seen. Too often we mistake listening for simply waiting until it is our turn to speak. But true listening is more than that. It is an act of humility. It is the choice to set aside your own noise in order to honor the unspoken depth of another human being. When someone shares a piece of their heart, they are not always asking for advice. They are not always waiting for answers. Many times, they simply want their feelings to be acknowledged, their pain to be recognized, their joy to be shared without interruption. To pause in silence and give them that space is to say, your story matters. Your feelings matter. You matter. That is the deepest respect one can offer another. It costs nothing, yet it gives more than words ever could. Think of the times in your own life when someone truly listened to you. Did it not feel as though they lifted a burden from your shoulders without ever touching it? Did you not feel lighter just because they allowed you to speak into the stillness without judgment? That is the sacred power of listening in silence. It tells the other person that they are safe, that they are not alone, that they are worthy of time and attention. Respect is not only shown in actions or gifts, it is shown in the patience to listen without rushing, without distraction. Silence becomes the language of care, for it allows the other to finish their sentence, their thought, their feeling, without fear of being cut off or dismissed. And in that pause, in that stillness, understanding begins to bloom. We live in a world that often glorifies speed, quick answers, fast solutions, rapid opinions. But speed does not always lead to wisdom. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is wait. Sometimes the kindest thing you can give is your silence. To pause and truly listen is to step out of yourself and enter the space of another's soul. It is to hold their truth as carefully as you would hold a fragile flame, knowing it could be easily extinguished if you rush or handle it carelessly. There is also strength in the pause. It prevents words from becoming weapons. It keeps emotions from spilling into harm. By pausing in silence, you allow tempers to cool, thoughts to gather, hearts to steady. What may have become conflict can transform into understanding simply because you chose to stop and listen before reacting. Respect is born in that pause, for it shows you value peace more than pride, connection more than victory. Even in the smallest exchanges, the pause of silence carries weight. A child who is allowed to finish their thought grows in confidence. A friend who is given silence instead of quick advice feels understood. A partner who is listened to with patience feels loved. Respect is not always about the grand gesture. Sometimes it is found in the quiet moment where we choose not to interrupt, not to hurry, not to fill the air with our own voice. When we master the art of listening in silence, we open doors that words alone cannot unlock. We discover not only what others are saying, but what they truly mean. We begin to hear the trembling underneath their courage, the hope hidden beneath their hesitation. And the greatest respect we can show is to receive those truths without rushing to judge or explain. So pause, be still, listen in silence. Let it be your gift of honor, your offering of respect. For when you do, you will discover that silence speaks louder than advice, and the heart that is heard in silence never forgets the kindness of being respected. Good luck and thank you. Silence uncovers emotions that words often hide. We live in a world where people are skilled at dressing their feelings in fine clothing, hiding their fears behind laughter, and masking their sorrows with smiles. Words can often serve as shields, carefully chosen to protect the heart from being exposed. But silence does not wear disguises. Silence strips away the decoration, revealing what lies beneath the surface. It uncovers the sadness, the joy, the longing, the fear that no string of words could truly capture. Think about the way someone looks down when they are hurt but cannot admit it. Think about the way someone hesitates before answering, as though the truth is too heavy to carry into sound. Think about the quiet between sentences, the way the pause lingers longer than it should. All of these are silences speaking. They are the raw emotions hiding behind the curtain of words. If we are willing to listen to those silences, we will see what the heart has been trying to say all along. Words can sometimes mislead, not always out of deception, but out of fear. A person may say, "I am okay," because they do not want to burden others with their pain. They may say, "It does not matter," when in reality it matters more than anything. They may say, "I forgive you," even while their silence trembles with unhealed wounds. It is in the silence that the truth becomes visible. The way the air grows heavy, the way the eyes avoid contact, the way a deep sigh escapes without permission, these are truths unspoken, emotions uncovered by the absence of words. Silence is a teacher of compassion. It shows us that what we hear on the surface is not always the whole story. It invites us to pay attention to what is not said, to notice the feeling hidden between lines. When you sit with someone in their silence, you may hear the cry they are too proud to release. You may feel the joy they are too shy to celebrate. You may recognize the fear they cannot name. That recognition does not come through quick conversation, but through patience and attentiveness to the silence that surrounds them. There is something profoundly human about silence. It is in silence that we grieve. It is in silence that we pray. It is in silence that we dream. All the most tender emotions find their resting place in quietness. And when we share that quiet with someone else, when we sit beside them without forcing words, we are telling them, "I see what you cannot say. I honor what you are holding inside." That is how silence uncovers what words cannot. Think of the moments when silence spoke louder than anything else. A hug offered without words after loss. The pause before saying goodbye when both hearts are unwilling to part. The stillness in a room after someone confesses their deepest fear. Those silences were filled with emotion. They were the truths that words could never carry. If we learn to welcome silence instead of fearing it, we will understand people more deeply, more honestly. We must also understand that silence uncovers emotions within ourselves. Sometimes we talk so much because we are afraid of what will rise in the quiet. Yet when we sit still, when we let the noise settle, we uncover our own hidden feelings. We find the grief we tried to ignore, the love we tried to suppress, the hope we thought we had lost. Silence does not allow us to run. It holds a mirror up to the soul and says, "Here is what you truly feel." Though it may be uncomfortable, it is also liberating, for we cannot heal what we refuse to face. So let silence do its work. Let it uncover what words have hidden. Let it bring to light the emotions buried beneath masks. For silence, though soft and unspoken, is a force of truth. And when you allow it to speak, you will find yourself connecting not only with the hearts of others, but also with the deepest parts of your own. Good luck and thank you. True connection is born when we hear beyond sound. Many people believe that connection is built only through conversation, through the exchange of words, through the rhythm of speech. But words alone are not enough to bind one soul to another. The deepest connections are formed in the quiet spaces, in the pauses that carry unspoken meaning, in the moments when listening moves beyond ears and into the heart. When we learn to hear beyond sound, we discover a level of understanding that words cannot create. Think of two friends sitting together, saying very little, yet feeling closer than ever. Think of a parent holding a child who cannot yet speak, and yet in that silence, love flows freely, unbroken, and complete. Think of two people walking side by side, their steps matching, no need for words because their silence says everything. These are the moments where true connection is born, where hearing beyond sound becomes the bridge that ties hearts together. So often, people speak without revealing themselves. Their words are safe, polite, practiced. But what lies beneath those words is where truth resides. The tone of voice, the heaviness of a pause, the hesitation before continuing, the silence that lingers too long. These are not empty gaps. They are pieces of truth waiting to be noticed. To connect deeply with another person, we must learn to listen to those unspoken signals, to hear the emotion that hides beneath the surface of sound. Noise can sometimes be a distraction, a way of covering vulnerability. Someone may speak endlessly, but their silence between sentences may carry the weight of what they truly wish to say. If you pay attention, you will realize that sound often entertains, but silence reveals. And when you honor silence, when you embrace the quiet moments as meaningful, you open the door to a connection that words alone could never build. True connection requires presence. It requires us to put aside our rush to respond, to resist the urge to fill silence with explanations or stories of our own. It requires us to pause and feel what the other person is feeling, to let their silence speak to us. In that presence, in that hearing beyond sound, we are saying, I see you not only in your words, but in your stillness. I recognize the language of your heart. That recognition is what creates trust, and trust is the foundation of connection. When people feel truly connected, they feel understood without needing to explain every detail. They feel accepted without needing to prove anything. That is the beauty of hearing beyond sound. You give the other person freedom, the freedom to simply be, without performance, without pressure. That freedom creates a bond stronger than any words could secure. It is also in hearing beyond sound that we discover the power of empathy. To empathize is not simply to listen to what is said, but to sense what is unsaid. It is to notice the pain someone carries in their silence, the joy hidden in their quiet smile, the fear in the way their hands tighten even when their lips say, I am fine. This kind of listening is rare, but it is what builds relationships that last. For when people feel seen at this level, they know they have found someone who truly hears them. Even within ourselves, true connection begins when we learn to hear beyond sound. We must listen not only to the thoughts that race in our minds, but also to the silence within us that reveals our deepest truths. It is in that inner stillness that we uncover our real desires, our hidden wounds, our unspoken hopes. And when we connect with ourselves at that depth, we are able to connect with others more authentically, more honestly, more compassionately. So let us strive to listen differently. Let us move beyond sound and into silence. Let us embrace the quiet as part of the conversation, as part of the bond. For it is in those quiet moments that hearts meet, that walls come down, that connection is truly born. Words may begin the journey, but silence completes it. Good luck and thank you. Silence builds bridges where arguments build walls. Whenever conflict rises, the first instinct for many is to defend, to explain, to make their voice louder than the other. Words begin to clash like stones striking against one another, and instead of bringing clarity, they create division. Arguments, no matter how justified they feel in the moment, often build walls so tall that understanding cannot pass through them. But silence has the power to do the opposite. Silence lowers the guard, softens the atmosphere, and begins to build a bridge that allows two hearts to meet again. In the middle of an argument, silence is often misunderstood as weakness. People believe that if they are quiet, they have lost the battle, that their silence will be mistaken for surrender. But silence is not surrender. Silence is strategy. Silence is wisdom that chooses not to add fuel to a fire already burning. It is the quiet strength that says, I value peace more than proving my point. That choice does not build a wall of pride. It lays down the first plank of a bridge that leads to reconciliation. Arguments thrive on noise. They gather strength from words spoken in haste, from tempers raised, from tones that rise higher than reason. But silence interrupts that pattern. Silence gives breathing space. It gives room for emotions to settle, for clarity to return, for compassion to reawaken. When one person chooses silence over escalation, the storm begins to lose its power. The wall that was quickly rising begins to crack, and a path to understanding starts to form. Silence is also a mirror. In an argument, when one side grows silent, the other is often forced to hear their own words more clearly. The noise they were creating echoes back at them, and in that reflection, awareness is born. Silence holds up that mirror gently, without judgment, without accusation. It allows truth to reveal itself naturally, and truth revealed in silence has a way of reaching the heart faster than truth shouted in anger. When silence is chosen with intention, it does not create distance. It creates the space where bridges can be built. Imagine two people standing on opposite sides of a river, shouting across, their voices growing hoarse, yet their distance remaining. Now imagine if one sets down the shouting, becomes quiet, and begins building step by step a bridge to close the gap. That is what silence does in the middle of conflict. It does not deny the river exists. It does not ignore the pain. But it chooses construction over destruction, connection over division. Even outside of conflict, silence is what helps bridges endure. Relationships of any kind require patience, and patience is born in quiet moments where listening is valued over speaking. A bond strengthened by silence becomes unshakable because both hearts know they do not always need to fight for space to be heard. Respect is woven into the pauses, into the calm, into the willingness to let silence carry the weight of understanding. That kind of respect keeps the bridge strong even when storms come. Silence also teaches us that not every truth needs to be spoken at once. Some truths need time, some need space, some need gentleness. By choosing silence, we give ourselves and others the grace to process feelings before turning them into words. And in that grace, bridges grow stronger because they are not built in haste, but with care and intention. The world will always have noise, and arguments will always tempt us to raise our voices. But it takes courage to choose silence, to step back from the wall being built, and instead begin laying the pieces of a bridge. It takes humility to remember that being right is not as valuable as being connected. And it takes wisdom to know that silence, though soft and quiet, has the power to heal wounds that words only deepen. So let silence be the builder. Let it replace division with connection. Let it transform moments of conflict into opportunities for understanding. For arguments build walls, but silence builds bridges strong enough to carry us back to one another. Good luck and thank you to understand another. You must first honor their quiet. Too often we rush into conversations with our own assumptions, filling the space with our own thoughts, eager to answer before we have truly listened. We want to fix, we want to advise, we want to be heard. But in doing so, we overlook the most important part of communication. The quiet moments where another person is showing us their truth without needing to say it aloud. To truly understand someone, we must honor that quiet as sacred, as meaningful, as worthy of our full attention. Quiet is not emptiness. It is not absence. Quiet is presence without noise. It is the way someone breathes heavier when their heart is tired. It is the pause before their words come out, unsure if they will be received. It is the lowering of the eyes, the folding of the hands, the silence between sentences that says far more than the sentences themselves. When we honor that quiet, when we treat it as part of the story rather than a gap to be filled, we show respect to the person in front of us. We show that we value not just what they say, but who they are. Understanding is not about collecting information. It is about connecting with the heart, and the heart does not always speak in words. It speaks in feelings, in gestures, in silences. By honoring someone's quiet, we acknowledge that their silence has meaning. We acknowledge that their quietness may carry grief, may carry love, may carry fear, may carry hope. We do not rush to interpret or to correct. Instead, we allow space for the truth to reveal itself in its own time. When people feel their quiet is honored, they feel safe. They feel seen without being forced, heard without being pressured. That safety creates trust, and trust opens the door to deeper understanding. Sometimes the most healing gift we can give is not our advice, not our opinion, not even our words, but our willingness to sit quietly and honor the silence between us. In that silence, they can breathe, they can share without fear of being interrupted or dismissed. Honoring someone's quiet also requires humility. It requires setting aside the belief that we already know what they mean, that we can guess their feelings before they have expressed them. It requires us to step out of our own noise and truly listen, not only with our ears, but with our presence. It is saying, I do not need to rush you. I will wait here in the stillness with you. I will let your quiet speak. That patience is where understanding blooms. There are moments when words would fail completely, when the quiet itself holds the truth more clearly than speech ever could. A person grieving may not have the words to describe their pain. A person in love may not have the words to capture the depth of their joy. A person carrying fear may not know how to shape it into sentences. But in their quiet, the truth is there. And when we honor that quiet, we show them that we are willing to feel with them even without explanation. Even in our own lives, honoring quiet teaches us to understand ourselves better. When we sit in silence, we realize how much we hide behind our own words. We realize how many feelings we bury beneath explanations. Honoring our own quiet is how we uncover the truths we run from. It is how we finally hear the voice within that whispers what we have long ignored. And the more we honor our own quiet, the better we become at honoring the quiet of others. So let us remember that true understanding is not born from noise. It is born from presence, from patience, from honoring the quiet spaces where people reveal who they are without words. To honor someone's quiet is to say, I accept you as you are. I trust the silence between us. I am willing to understand you not only by what you say, but by what you cannot say. And that is the deepest form of connection one human being can offer another. Good luck and thank you. Silence has been our teacher all along, showing us truths that words cannot hold. It has revealed that the pauses are not empty, but filled with meaning. It has shown us that the heart speaks louder than the tongue when given space. That respect is born in listening without interruption, that emotions hidden behind smiles and sentences rise gently in stillness. Silence has reminded us that true connection is not built on noise, but on presence, that bridges can be formed where arguments once stood, and that honoring the quiet of another is the highest form of love and understanding. If we let silence guide us, we will see people more clearly, hear them more deeply, and walk beside them more faithfully. So may we learn to cherish silence, not as absence, but as the voice of the soul. And may it guide our relationships, our hearts, and our lives toward greater peace and compassion. Good luck and thank you.